Hey YouTube, it's April 1st, 2012 and you're watching the TheGameStartup channel. Today we're going to talk about customer segmentation for game development. Basically what that involves is figuring out who our target gamer is and how we're going to target them. How we're going to get in front of them and why it is that they want to play our game. Players come in all different shapes and sizes, and a lot of them have different interests, and a lot of them are affected by different locales and are fit into different segments of the population. And so basically we want to break that down and figure out who exactly it is that we're targeting. When we're looking for our ideal player, some really easy places to start is looking at the geography of your game. Are you looking at specific nations, states, or cities when you're designing your game? This can include things like language barriers as well. If you're setting up your game in, for example, North America, you're probably targeting an English demographic, but you have to be aware of French and Spanish players as well. And are you actually going to provide support for those players or not? The next one is checking out your player demographics. Huge differences in age, gender, income. These are factors that really affect who it is that you're looking to target with your game. Someone who is like 15 years old is not going to want to play the same game in general as someone who is 45. You are going to get your odd game out there, like for example Call of Duty. I can imagine there's a huge age range of people that want to play that game. But when we're talking about indie game developers, we're really talking about looking for a specific niche that you're going to hit with your game. And creating a game that appeals to everyone is just way too hard with the amount of resources that you have. A lot of games are also gender dependent. Men and women have different interests in general, and so you see all sorts of different target marketing throughout the industry that are geared towards either men or women. If you look at the psychographics, basically we're talking about lifestyles and personalities. Someone who was born into a rich family, for example, has a very different perspective on life to someone who is living below the poverty line. As well as, you can talk about middle class, upper middle class. All these different categorizations of people are affected by their lifestyle and personality, and that's going to affect what that kind of player is. You want to appeal to different personality types, but you don't want to appeal to too many. Behavioral, you're basically looking at number one, and especially important, is the benefits. What is the player getting out of the game? Is that something that they're looking for in a game? The next would be usage. Are you targeting hardcore gamers or social gamers? Is this someone who plays games every day, or is this someone who only plays games maybe 2 or 3 times a month, or even 2 or 3 times a year? That's something you have to consider when you're building this game, as to how much they're actually going to play it. And then loyalty to the game or to the brand is very dependent on the person as well. Some people are very loyal to brands or games in a series, and that can really affect how you're targeting your game. Because if you're targeting a group of people that are very loyal to a brand, that's going to be super advantageous if that's your brand, but it's going to be very hard to penetrate the market if that's your competitor. Next, we're going to take a look at how you target your market, and that's basically figuring out how we're going to reach our gamers. There's 4 different kinds of ways to target our market: mass marketing, segmented marketing, niche marketing, and individual marketing, and they all have their different pros and cons. When you're looking at mass marketing, you're looking to appeal to as many players as possible. The benefit of this is that you have tons of players. The drawback is that it's very hard to appeal to everyone. When you're developing a game and you're trying to appeal to everyone, you have to essentially take everyone's input and actually use it. And this can be a huge draw on your resources to actually make that game work for the broadest amount of people. It can also create a very dull game when you're trying to appeal to everyone, which can really backfire on you. When you're looking at segmented marketing, you're basically figuring out the different segments that you're going to approach and tailoring your products to each segment separately. Not everyone likes a specific type of social game, not everyone likes a specific type of hardcore game, but doing a combination of different products in different categories can let you target different types of players. The hard part about this is that you essentially have to put a lot of resources into developing products for different groups. Niche marketing, we're basically looking at taking a large share of a small market. Now what that means is essentially you're not going to go after the big players. You're going to go after little areas of gaming that people really want to see a game for, but the big companies don't see as profitable. Because you're an indie game company, you have the ability to go in there and target that niche and be profitable because you don't have such huge profit margins. In terms of individual marketing, you're talking about customizations per person. Now this is really cool if you can pull it off because you're essentially giving every single player what they want. You're customizing your game towards every single person. The unfortunate part is this involves a huge amount of groundwork inside of your game. Yes, it's a lot easier to target your marketing to these people, but you're going to spend so much effort and probably money developing your game so that it's fully customizable that it's probably not worth it. I think when you look at the current game market, especially for indie game developers, a lot of them are going towards the segmented markets and niche markets because they're the least risk for the highest reward. When you're trying to position your game, you basically want to compare your game to that of your competitors. A good way to do this is to essentially make a graph of different attributes that you're comparing yourself on. And you essentially put yourself on that graph as to where you lie on that attribute, and then put your competitors on that graph as well as to where they fit in those attributes, and let the size determine the size of that dot that you're drawing for each company or each product represent the market share that company has. And that will allow you to see if you're trying to compete with somebody who's bigger than you are and what you can do about that. But yeah, definitely look at your competitors and really see where you fit versus them. When you're trying to differentiate your product, you basically have several different avenues to approach as you go. You can either try and make a superior product. You can offer superior services that go along with that product, for example, customer service. You can offer superior channels of distribution. For example, say you have just a really great way of distributing your game to the maximum number of players and letting them give feedback as fast as possible. I think the best example of this would be if you're looking at Steam's distribution model. When you're talking about people, you're talking about who you're hiring and how they're great. Basically, you're hiring the best software developers, or you're hiring the best customer service representatives, and they represent your product publicly, and your customers recognize that you hire superior people. I think one of great examples of this is probably Blizzard. Everybody knows that people who work at Blizzard come there because they have a love and a passion and a knowledge for game development. Image is the last one. Image is basically how people interpret your brand. If you have a superior image, people basically see your brand as being superior to other brands. When we're talking about competitive advantage, what we're really talking about is providing superior value over your competitors in each of the positions available. I hope that look at customer segments gave you a better idea of how to position your game in the market. In a later video, I'm going to take a look at Bartle tests in order to give you a better idea of what gamers are looking for within your game once they're playing. That's it for today. I hope you come back tomorrow, and be sure to subscribe, and if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it in the comments. See you later, YouTube.